We've seen a lot of these kind of exhibition matches recently, like the Jake Paul fights, and I believe Mike Tyson came back recently, and even Vitor Belfort and these kinds of figures. Do you think that helps boxing? Because, I mean, obviously it gets a lot of eyeballs, but then it's controversial because there are people who say it's kind of making a mockery of the sport, or, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's beneficial overall?
My thought on it, first of all, is actions speak louder than words. And what I mean by that is when Jake Paul fights, there seems to be a million of people watching. They're all complaining, but yet there's a million people watching. Recently, I was watching a pay-per-view card that was happening in Belgium with a lot of some good Irish fighters on it. Tyron Woodley was fighting, and the pay-per-view was only like €7 or something. And it was one of the, because it was a small pay-per-view, while you were watching, you could see how many people are watching. It said there was 12 of us watching it. So here was some real boxing for you. You all complain about it, you know, you all do the talk, but when it comes to actions, you all watch the fucking Jake Paul fight, and only 12 of you watch the real boxing. So, you know, where's the truth in that then? But in my opinion, all this Jake Paul stuff, yeah, why not? He puts eyes on the sport, and perhaps when people watch this, because there's not only his fight on the card, there's some legit boxers on the card as well, and perhaps people will tune in to see Jake Paul, you know, fight, but they will see other good boxers on it, and they might fall in love with the sport and become fans, and down the line will end up watching boxing as well. So I don't see any issues with that. That does no damage to anybody. You don't want to watch it, don't watch it. You want to watch it, watch it. If you want to watch just the good fights, watch it, then come main event time for Jake Paul, turn the fucking thing off. No problem, mate. You know what I mean? No one is forcing you to do it. So I don't see the issue. I think people just love complaining about something. So
I believe Paul was originally supposed to fight Tommy Fury, but that's been scrapped now, and it looks like he'll be having a rematch with Tyron Woodley instead. How would you see that rematch playing out in your view?
I mean, I hope Tyron is a little bit more aggressive in this fight. I know that's kind of been his thing, and I feel it's probably due to the fact that he was like wrestling very heavy, you know, back in the day, and then people's wrestling used to dominate MMA just in general, but then people's takedown defense became a lot better, and wrestling is very energy consuming. You know, when you wrestle somebody and you're not successful with the takedown, and then you break away and you need to strike, and you feel that tiredness, you go, oh, you like panic sets in. So I think maybe something like that happened to Tyron in one of his fights, and then he became very tentative. He wasn't as aggressive anymore as he was in his earlier fights, and that's happened to him in the Jake Paul fight as well. He was just afraid, didn't want to get too tired, you know, didn't want to commit to.
Because like the one moment in the fight where he really went for Jake, he had him on the ropes. It was
Exactly.
like probably the biggest moment of the fight, but
Exactly.
he just didn't replicate that or repeat it, which I think a lot of people were tearing their hair out watching it, you know?
So yeah, so I hope that he puts it on Jake a little bit more on this fight, because the one thing about Jake is that he is very new to the sport, and now suddenly he's on this big rounds fights, you know, like normally at this level he wouldn't even be in this, you know, crazy amount of rounds just yet. You know, he is just kind of beginning, you know, his professional journey, and he's already in these big fights. So this is something that Tyron should explore. You know, he should put it on him, you know what I mean, make him worry, make him panic, make him tense a bit more, and go into the later rounds, you know, after having, you know, spent some of the energy earlier on. So I would like to see Tyron a bit more aggressive in this fight, and I think he can definitely pull it off.